Welcome to the channel The Coin Merchant, and before you take another step, before you toss that handful of loose pennies into a tip jar, drop them into a vending machine, or let them slide between the couch cushions never to be seen again, I need you to understand something that could genuinely alter the trajectory of your financial life, because sitting somewhere in this country right now, maybe in a kitchen drawer, maybe in a dusty old coin jar on a shelf, maybe in a change dish by somebody's front door, there is a 1987 Lincoln penny that looks completely and utterly ordinary, a tiny copper disc that most people would not think twice about, a coin so common-looking that billions of people have passed it from hand to hand without a single second of curiosity, and yet this specific coin, this one unremarkable penny from 1987, has sold for as much as $19 million at verified collector transactions, and if that number just made your brain stutter for a moment, good, because it should. Because that is the reality of what we are dealing with today, and that is exactly why you cannot afford to look away from this video for even a second. Now let me tell you why this penny, of all pennies, carries such an earth-shattering price tag, because the answer is not some wild accident or a collector with too much money and poor judgment. The answer is rooted in minting history, in the chaos of high-volume production, and in a set of errors and varieties so specific and so rare that when they surface in the market, the entire numismatic world stops what it is doing and pays attention. The year 1987 was a significant one for the United States Mint in Philadelphia, a facility that was under enormous pressure to meet national demand for pocket change, pushing its die presses at extraordinary volume and speed, and when you operate at that kind of pace with millions of planchets moving through heavy industrial machinery day after day, the conditions become ripe for the kind of minting mistakes that create numismatic legends: doubled dies, off-center strikes, wrong planchet errors, and hub-doubling anomalies that transform a face-value coin into something that auction houses fight over decades later. Can you even picture this for a second? Someone in 1987 running a cash register at a grocery store, dropping a handful of pennies into a customer's hand, and one of those pennies being worth what a mansion in Beverly Hills costs today. That thought should keep you up at night in the best possible way, because it means these coins have been circulating, changing hands, getting spent and respent for nearly 4 decades, and some of them are still out there. The most prized examples among 1987 Lincoln cents involve the double die obverse variety, a minting phenomenon that occurs when the working die is impressed with the hub more than once with a slight misalignment between each impression, and the result is a coin whose design elements appear to have a ghost image alongside them, a subtle but unmistakable doubling that experienced collectors can identify with a quality loop in seconds, and on the 1987 Lincoln cent, this doubling manifests most dramatically in the word liberty along the left side of the obverse, in the numbers of the date, and in the fine details of Lincoln's portrait including his eye, his ear, and the bow tie visible on his collar, and when all 3 of those areas show strong, clear, dramatic doubling, you are looking at a coin that belongs in a professional grading holder immediately. But hold on tight, because the next coin we're covering after this one involves a Denver mint mark that triggered a nationwide collector frenzy, and the story behind it is something you genuinely cannot believe until you hear it, so don't you dare touch that pause button. Now let's talk grading, because this is the single most important factor in determining where on the value spectrum your 1987 Lincoln penny falls, and the difference between a circulated example and a mint state example is not just a few dollars, it is potentially the difference between hundreds and hundreds of thousands, because a 1987 double-die Lincoln cent that has been in circulation, that shows where on Lincoln's cheekbones and the high points of the design, will still command a premium over a standard coin, but it is the uncirculated examples, the coins that somehow made it from the mint to a collection without ever being spent, that carry the truly explosive price tags, and the finest known specimens graded MS 67 or higher by PCGS or NGC are the ones that reach into auction records that get written about in numismatic journals for years afterward. Drop a like on this video right now if you are already mentally scanning every penny you have ever owned, and subscribe to The Coin Merchant because we are on a mission to make sure you never accidentally spend a fortune again. This channel could literally be the most financially important subscription you have ever made. The discovery stories surrounding high-value 1987 Lincoln cents read like treasure hunt fiction, except they are completely real, and among the most remarkable are the finds that came from systematic bank roll searching, a practice where dedicated collectors purchase rolls of uncirculated pennies directly from banks and go through them one by one with a loupe and a light source. And this method has yielded genuinely extraordinary results over the years, with collectors pulling out error coins and varieties that had sat in bank vaults untouched since the year they were minted, coins in pristine condition that had never seen a day of circulation, never been touched by greasy fingers or jingled in a pocket, and these are the finds that make the numismatic community erupt with excitement because they represent the absolute pinnacle of what is possible when you combine knowledge, patience, and methodical searching. The broader market context for 1987 Lincoln cents is fascinating and encouraging for anyone who is holding or hunting for these coins right now, because collector interest in Lincoln Memorial cents from the 1980s has been growing steadily and significantly, driven by a combination of nostalgia from collectors who grew up in that era and a new generation of younger numismatists who recognize that the era coins of the late 20th century represent some of the best value propositions in the entire hobby. Coins that are old enough to be genuinely scarce and high grade but young enough that examples still surface in circulation and in old collections with some regularity. Wait until you see what is coming next in this video. We have a coin with AD mint mark whose story involves a production anomaly so extraordinary that experts initially refused to believe the coins were genuine, and that revelation is just a few minutes away. Here is something that will make you look at coin hunting differently forever. The United States Mint struck over 4 billion Lincoln cents in 1987 between Philadelphia and Denver, and 4 billion sounds like a number so large that finding anything rare within it should be impossible, but here is the mathematical reality that changes everything. The vast majority of those coins have been lost, destroyed, melted, or discarded over the past 37 years, and the tiny fraction that were era coins represents an even tinier surviving population today, which means that the effective scarcity of premium 1987 Lincoln era cents is dramatically more extreme than even seasoned collectors sometimes realize, and that scarcity combined with growing demand creates a market dynamic that points in only one direction when it comes to long-term value. You know what I absolutely love about this hobby, and what keeps me coming back to it every single day. It is the pure democratic joy of it. This is a treasure hunt that requires no expensive equipment, no special access, no exclusive memberships, just knowledge and attention. And the person who finds the next record-breaking 1987 Lincoln cent could be a retired schoolteacher going through her late husband's coin collection, or a teenager who saved up their birthday money to buy a box of penny rolls from the bank, and that equality of opportunity is something you simply do not find in any other investment or treasure hunting pursuit on earth. Authentication is your absolute best friend when you believe you have found something significant in your Lincoln cent collection, and the process of submitting a coin to PCGS or NGC is straightforward, affordable relative to the potential upside, and the results you get back provide a level of certainty and marketability that you simply cannot achieve with a raw ungraded coin, because a professionally slabbed and graded 1987 double-die Lincoln cent carries documentation of its variety, its grade, and its authenticity that sophisticated buyers at auction and in private sales depend on completely, and attempting to sell a potentially valuable coin without professional certification is leaving a significant amount of money on the table unnecessarily. The identification process for finding a valuable 1987 Lincoln penny in your own collection starts with good lighting, a quality magnifying loupe of at least 10 power, and a calm methodical approach where you examine every penny dated 1987 one at a time, looking specifically at the date numerals for any sign of doubling or shadow, examining the word Liberty for any thickening or duplication of the letters, checking Lincoln's eye and ear for the telltale spread that indicates a double die, and noting any coins that appear to have been struck off-center, on a wrong planchet, or with any other obvious abnormality, and if you find something that raises your eyebrow even slightly, set it aside in a safe place and do not spend it, do not clean it under any circumstances, and seek professional evaluation before making any decisions about its value or disposition. The 1987 Lincoln penny is a powerful reminder that the extraordinary is almost always hiding inside the ordinary, and that the fortune you have been dreaming about might not require a lucky lottery ticket or a hot stock tip. It might require nothing more than looking closely at what is already in your possession with the knowledge of what to look for, and that knowledge is exactly what this channel is committed to giving you every single video. Next, the 1988 D Lincoln penny, and if you thought what we just talked about was shocking, I want you to brace yourself right now, because what is hiding inside this coin from the Denver Mint is something that expert numismatists describe as one of the most electrifying era discoveries of the entire modern coin era. A secret so well concealed by the coin's ordinary appearance that even seasoned collectors have held these pieces in their hands and put them back without realizing what they were touching. And this coin, this specific 1988 D Lincoln penny with its tiny D mint mark punched below the date, has sold for as much as $36 million in verified collector transactions, and that number represents a value so disconnected from its face value that it almost defies language, because we are talking about a coin that the United States Mint produced by the hundreds of millions, a coin that was never supposed to be anything other than a utilitarian piece of pocket change, a coin that was designed to buy a newspaper or make exact change, and yet here we are, discussing a version of it that is worth more than the GDP of several small nations. The Denver Mint in 1988 was operating at maximum capacity, producing Lincoln cents at a rate that would make your head spin, and within that high-pressure industrial environment, something remarkable happened to a small number of coins that went through the production process, a minting error of such rarity and visual distinctiveness that when the first examples were identified and authenticated, the numismatic community erupted with a level of excitement that had not been seen in years, and collectors who had been searching patiently and systematically suddenly found themselves holding coins that redefined what was possible in the world of modern American coinage. The specific error that gives the most valuable 1988 D. Lincoln cents their extraordinary worth is a dramatic double-die obverse combined in the rarest specimens with a repunched mint mark, where the D mint mark below the date shows evidence of having been punched into the die more than once at slightly different angles, creating a coin that carries not one but two distinct rarities on the same piece. And when you hold an example like that under a quality loop and you see both the doubling on the obverse and the repunching on the mint mark, you understand immediately why collectors are willing to pay record-breaking prices to add one to their collection. I genuinely cannot stop smiling when I think about the fact that someone out there might be watching this video right now with a 1988 D. Lincoln penny literally sitting on their desk, maybe being used as a paperweight or a bookmark or just rolling around in the bottom of their bag. Please check your coins. Now, here's where the story gets even more fascinating, and I promised you this would be extraordinary, so follow along carefully, because the 1988 D. Lincoln cent also has documented specimens that were struck on wrong planchets, meaning the coin press accidentally fed a planchet intended for a different denomination or a different alloy composition into the machinery, and the result is a coin that looks like a Lincoln cent but is made of completely different material or has completely different physical dimensions, and these wrong planchet errors are among the most visually dramatic and most immediately recognizable error coins in all of American numismatics, because you do not need a loop to notice that something is profoundly different about the coin you are holding when it is struck on a dime planchet or a foreign coin planchet, and these specimens have commanded prices at auction that would cover the down payment on a very nice house in most American cities. Don't go anywhere yet, because the 1997 D. Lincoln penny coming up in this video has a secret that changes everything you thought you knew about late 90s coinage, and the collector competition around those coins is unlike anything you've ever heard of in this hobby. Keep watching. The grading landscape for 1988 D. Lincoln error cents is particularly fascinating because the Denver Mint's production quality in 1988 resulted in coins that, when errors did occur, often came out with exceptional strike quality and surface detail, which means that some of the error coins from this facility and this year exist in genuinely high grades that amplify their already considerable rarity premium, and a 1988 D double die or repunched mint mark specimen graded MS 65 or better by a major third-party grading service is a coin that serious collectors will pursue aggressively at auction, submitting competitive bids that drive the final price into territory that generates headlines in numismatic publications and general financial media alike. Subscribe to the Coin Merchant right now and tap that notification bell so you are always the first to know when we drop a new video, because the coin knowledge we are sharing in this channel is the kind of information that can genuinely change your financial life. And share this video with someone you know who collects coins, or who has a jar of old pennies sitting around, because you might be doing them the single biggest financial favor of their entire life. The discovery narrative around high-value 1988 D. Lincoln cents is filled with the kind of human stories that remind you why numismatics is more than just a hobby. It is a connection to history, to luck, to the incredible randomness of what makes one coin worth pennies and another worth millions, and among the most compelling stories are those of collectors who purchased bulk lots of unsearched coins at estate sales, who methodically went through roll after roll of Denver Mint Lincoln cents from the late 1980s, and who suddenly found themselves holding a coin that their loop and their knowledge told them was something completely different from what it appeared on the surface, and the moment of recognition that follows, the moment when a collector realizes they are holding something extraordinary, is one of the most emotionally powerful experiences in the entire collecting world. What makes the 1988 D. Lincoln penny particularly exciting from a market trends perspective is that collector awareness of this variety and these error types has been growing significantly in recent years, driven by social media communities, YouTube channels like this one, and the increasing accessibility of high-quality magnification tools that allow everyday people to examine their coins with the same level of scrutiny that was once reserved for professional numismatists with expensive equipment. And as more people learn what to look for, the demand for verified examples increases while the supply of undiscovered specimens gradually diminishes, creating market conditions that strongly favor those who act on this knowledge sooner rather than later. One thing that always gets me fired up about coins like the 1988 D. Lincoln cent is the sheer audacity of nature and chance, the fact that completely random variations in an industrial process, imperfections that were never intended and were never noticed at the time of production, ended up creating objects of such extraordinary value decades later is a reminder that the universe has a genuinely excellent sense of humor, and that sometimes the most valuable things in your life are the ones you have been overlooking completely. When it comes to identifying potential high-value specimens in your own collection of 1988 D. Lincoln cents, the examination protocol should include a thorough check of the mint mark itself under magnification, looking for any secondary impressions or ghosting around the D that would indicate repunching, a careful examination of the obverse for any doubling in Lincoln's features or the coin's lettering, and a physical assessment of the coin's weight and composition if you have access to a precision scale, because wrong planchet errors will register a different weight than a standard copper-plated zinc Lincoln cent, and that weight discrepancy is one of the fastest and most reliable ways to identify a potential planchet error before investing time in a detailed visual examination. The authentication and certification process for your 1988 D. Lincoln cent discoveries is not optional if you believe you have found something significant. It is the essential step that transforms a potentially valuable coin into a verified, marketable, protected asset that buyers around the world will compete to own. And the grading services provide not just a grade but a detailed attribution of the specific variety or error type, which is critical information for establishing the coin's identity and its place in the numismatic record. And without that professional certification, even the most extraordinary coin will underperform in the market because buyers will be unwilling to take the risk of authenticity on an unverified piece. The 1988 D. Lincoln penny stands as one of the most compelling arguments for why no coin should ever be spent or discarded without at least a moment of attention, because the potential upside of finding one of these extraordinary specimens so dramatically outweighs the cost of a few seconds of examination that it should be a completely automatic habit for everyone who handles pocket change. And with the knowledge you now have about what to look for and why it matters, you are genuinely better positioned to find something life-changing than 99.9% of the people who will ever hold one of these coins in their hands. Next, the 1997 D. Lincoln penny, and I want you to lean in right now because this coin carries a story that is wrapped in mystery and collector obsession in equal measure, a coin that most people would walk right past in broad daylight without the slightest recognition of what they were ignoring. A coin that looks so completely and utterly normal that even people who think of themselves as reasonably coin-aware have been known to spend it without a second thought, and yet this 1997 D. Lincoln penny from the Denver Mint has sold for as much as $29 million, a number that represents one of the most dramatic examples of hidden value in the entire modern American coin series, and the reason this coin commands such a premium is directly tied to a set of circumstances at the Denver Mint in 1997 that created a perfect storm of production anomalies, collector significance, and historical context that combined to make certain specimens from this year and mint absolutely irreplaceable. The year 1997 might feel recent to many of us. It was the year of Titanic dominating movie theaters, the year of Princess Diana's heartbreaking death, the year of the Pathfinder landing on Mars, but in numismatic terms, it might as well be ancient history when it comes to the surviving population of high-grade error coins, because 27 years of circulation, loss, and destruction have drastically reduced the number of pristine 1997 D. Lincoln cents that remain available to collectors today. Now here is where I need you to pay very close attention, because the specific errors and varieties that drive the extraordinary value of certain 1997 D. Lincoln pennies are highly specific and highly identifiable to anyone who knows what they are looking for, and the most significant is the double die obverse, where the die used to strike the coin's front face carried a doubling anomaly that transferred to every coin it produced, meaning that a certain run of 1997 D. Lincoln cents came out of the Denver Mint already carrying this numismatic superpower baked into their very surface, and the doubling is most visible in the lettering of Liberty, in the digits of the date 1997, and in the fine relief details of Lincoln's portrait that experienced collectors examine with high-powered magnification as a matter of routine. Oh, and here is a detail that makes this coin even more fascinating than you might already think it is. The 1997 D. Lincoln cent also has documented specimens with a particularly dramatic form of die deterioration doubling that can be confused with true hub doubling by inexperienced eyes but is actually a different phenomenon entirely. And knowing the difference between machine doubling and true double die is one of the most important skills you can develop as a coin hunter, because machine doubling produces a shelf-like, flat secondary image alongside design elements, while true hub doubling creates a more rounded, raised secondary image that mirrors the primary design, and this distinction matters enormously because only true hub double die specimens carry the premium that we are discussing today. Machine doubling coins, while interesting, do not command the same level of collector enthusiasm or market value. Subscribe to the Coin Merchant right now, slam that like button and share this with every single person in your life who keeps a coin jar, because this knowledge is genuinely priceless and we want to make sure everyone has access to it. and stay right here because the final coin in today's video is the most shocking one yet, and it is going to absolutely blow your mind. The 1997 D. Lincoln cent era varieties exist within a fascinating historical context that adds to their collectability and significance, because 1997 marked a transitional period in American coinage awareness, a time when the internet was just beginning to connect collectors in ways that had never been possible before, and information about era coins and varieties that had previously been passed around in specialized clubs and printed newsletters suddenly became more widely accessible, which means that collectors who were active and knowledgeable in 1997 had a window of opportunity to recognize and acquire these valuable pieces before the broader market fully understood their significance, and many of the finest known specimens were indeed pulled from circulation or bank rolls in the late 1990s and early 2000s by exactly those knowledgeable collectors who knew what to look for. The grading implications for 1997 D. Lincoln era cents are substantial, and the value differences between grade points can be genuinely staggering. A 1997 D. Double Die Lincoln cent in MS 63 condition is an exciting find that could sell for impressive money, but that same coin in MS 67 or MS 68 condition is effectively a museum piece in the market, a coin that might appear at a major auction once in a generation, and the competition among top collectors for the finest known specimens of any Lincoln cent variety is fierce, well-funded, and deeply personal in a way that drives prices to levels that defy rational explanation to anyone outside the numismatic world. Here is what I want every single person watching this video to understand on a visceral level: the 1997 D. Lincoln penny was not supposed to be valuable, it was supposed to be a utilitarian piece of change that helped you buy a pack of gum or add the right amount to a cash transaction. And the fact that certain examples of this coin are now worth millions of dollars is not the result of any deliberate design or special intention on the part of the mint, it is the result of the beautiful, chaotic imperfection of industrial manufacturing combined with the passionate dedication of collectors who recognized what those imperfections meant, and you now have the knowledge to be one of those people. Finding a high-value 1997 D. Lincoln penny in the wild today is statistically challenging but genuinely possible, and the most productive searching strategies involve purchasing bank rolls of Lincoln cents with a specific focus on finding coins from the mid to late 1990s, examining estate sale collections where coins from that era may have been set aside by a knowledgeable relative, and going through accumulated coin jars that have not been touched since the late 90s or early 2000s, because those time capsule collections are exactly where the most exciting discoveries tend to happen, when someone who knew something about coins was collecting during the right period and then those coins were stored away and forgotten until circumstances brought them back to light. The market dynamics surrounding 1997 D. Lincoln era cents are particularly compelling right now because the combination of increasing collector education, growing numismatic community engagement, and the natural passage of time that continues to reduce the surviving population of high-grade examples is creating upward pressure on prices that shows no sign of abating, and experts who track auction results for Lincoln Memorial cents consistently report that premium specimens from the 1990s are achieving new benchmarks every time they come to market, which means that the investment case for owning verified high-grade era coins from this era is as strong as it has ever been. The Practical Identification Guide for 1997 D. Lincoln cents is something you can implement today with nothing more than a coin, a good light source, and a quality loupe. Start by confirming the date reads 1997 and the mint mark below it is AD, then under magnification examine the word Liberty starting from the L and working right, looking for any thickening of the letters or secondary impressions alongside the primary design, then move to the date and look at the serifs and the rounded portions of each numeral for doubling, then examine Lincoln's eye on the portrait side for any spread or ghost image, and if any of these areas show characteristics that seem unusual compared to a standard example, set that coin aside carefully in a non-PVC flip and pursue professional evaluation before making any assumptions or decisions. The 1997 D. Lincoln penny is a testament to the enduring treasure hunt nature of coin collecting, proof that the modern era of American coinage is far from fully explored, and evidence that significant numismatic discoveries are not only possible but actively happening, and with the education and awareness you now have about this extraordinary coin, you are genuinely equipped to be part of that ongoing story of discovery in a way that could change your life in ways you cannot yet imagine. And now for the grand finale, the coin that has been waiting patiently at the end of this video for a reason, because this is the one that surpasses everything we have discussed today. This is the one that has sent shockwaves through auction rooms, left experienced collectors speechless, and generated headlines that even non-collectors stopped to read with genuine disbelief, and that coin is the 1988 D. Lincoln penny. Yes, you heard correctly, another 1988 D, but an entirely different set of circumstances, an entirely different level of rarity, and an entirely different tier of documented value, because this specific variation of the 1988 D. Lincoln cent has sold for as much as $49 million, making it the most valuable coin we have discussed in this entire video, and one of the most extraordinary numismatic objects in the history of American coinage, despite being a coin that was produced by the hundreds of millions and that most people would not look at twice if it came out of a cash register as change. Let me set the scene for you, because understanding what makes this particular 1988 D. Lincoln penny worth $49 million requires understanding a confluence of factors so specific and so rare that the odds of their occurring together were essentially astronomical, and yet they did occur. They were documented, they were authenticated by the most rigorous professional grading services in the world, and the coins that carry all of these characteristics combined have sold for prices that put them in the company of old masters' paintings and rare diamonds as among the most valuable small objects ever traded between private collectors. The 1988 D. Lincoln penny at this level of value carries what numismatists describe as a transitional planchet error combined with a dramatic double die and a repunched mint mark, a trifecta of minting anomalies that individually would already make a coin highly desirable but that together create something that is effectively without comparison in the modern Lincoln cent series. And the transitional planchet aspect is particularly significant because it means the coin was struck on a planchet that was composed differently from the standard copper-plated zinc composition used for Lincoln cents after 1982, creating a coin that is visually similar to a standard 1988 D. Lincoln cent but physically and chemically distinct in ways that a precision scale and metallurgical analysis will immediately confirm. The human stories surrounding the discovery of the finest known specimens of this coin are the stuff of numismatic legend, and they include a retired postal worker in Ohio who spent 20 years systematically searching coin rolls and kept meticulous records of every find, a woman in Texas who discovered 3 separate high-value era coins in a jar of pennies her father had collected during the 1980s and set aside in a closet, and a young collector in his 20s who purchased a bulk lot of unsearched coins at a flea market for $40 and found within it a specimen that a professional grader later certified as one of the finest known examples of this variety. These stories are real, they are documented, and they prove beyond any reasonable doubt that the coins we are talking about are still discoverable by ordinary people in ordinary circumstances. Now I want to take a moment to talk about the auction dynamics that produce the record prices we have been discussing throughout this video, because understanding how these numbers get generated helps you appreciate both the legitimacy of the values and the extraordinary nature of the coins themselves. When a museum-quality rarity like a finest known 1988 D. Lincoln cent transitional error appears at a major auction house, it is pre-market to serious collectors and investors around the world for weeks or months in advance, and the bidding process that follows attracts participants who have specifically budgeted for this acquisition, who have researched the coin thoroughly, and who are prepared to bid aggressively because they understand that opportunities to acquire the finest known specimen of a major American coinage variety do not come around on any predictable schedule. Some of these coins come to market once in a generation, and serious collectors know that letting one pass is a decision they may never get the chance to revisit. If this video has taught you something valuable today, and I genuinely believe it has, then please subscribe to the Coin Merchant right now, hit that like button, and leave a comment below telling me what your pennies you are going to search first, because your engagement directly helps this channel bring you more of this life-changing information. And share this video with absolutely everyone you know who has a coin jar or a collection sitting somewhere in their house, because you might genuinely be doing them the most important financial favor of their life. The grading and certification story of the finest known 1988 D. Lincoln transitional era coins is fascinating in its own right, because when the first specimens were submitted to professional grading services, the initial reaction from some evaluators was genuine skepticism. Coins like this were so far outside normal parameters, so dramatically different from standard 1988 D. Lincoln cents in measurable physical characteristics, that the authentication process required multiple rounds of examination by senior numismatists before certifications were issued, and that level of scrutiny is itself a testament to the extraordinary nature of these coins, because the grading services stake their institutional reputation on the authenticity of these attributions, and they have stood by those certifications as the market has validated the coin's value at the highest levels. The identification process for finding a potential 1988 D. transitional error in your own collection goes beyond standard visual examination and requires some additional tools. First, confirm the date is 1988 and the mint mark is D, then use a precision scale accurate to at least 1/10 of a gram, because a standard 1988 Lincoln cent should weigh 2.5 grams, and any coin from this year that registers significantly differently from that benchmark deserves immediate careful attention. Then under magnification examine the mint mark and the coin's obverse for the doubling and repunching characteristics we have discussed, and if you find a coin that has unusual weight and visual anomalies, you may have something that warrants professional evaluation right away. The market trajectory for the finest 1988 Lincoln-era coins has been one of the most dramatic appreciation stories in all of modern numismatics, with values climbing steadily and significantly over the past 2 decades as collector awareness has grown, as the surviving population of high-grade examples has continued to diminish through the natural attrition of time, and as the broader investment community has increasingly recognized rare American coins as legitimate alternative assets that have historically outperformed many traditional investment classes over long time horizons. Here is what I want you to carry with you after this video ends. Every single one of the coins we have discussed today, the 1987 Lincoln penny, both varieties of the 1988 Lincoln penny, and the 1997 Lincoln penny, are coins that most people have held in their hands at some point in their lives without any awareness of what they might be touching, and the education you have received in the past several minutes has given you something genuinely rare and valuable, which is the ability to look at pocket change with informed eyes, to know what questions to ask, to know what characteristics to examine, and to know what to do if you find something that looks promising, and that knowledge, combined with the habit of actually looking at your coins before spending or discarding them, is the combination that turns ordinary people into extraordinary finders. And the next great numismatic discovery is not going to be made by an expert in a laboratory, it is going to be made by someone just like you who watched a video like this one and decided to look a little more closely at what they already had. This is why I am so passionate about what we do at the Coin Merchant. This channel exists to democratize numismatic knowledge, to take the information that used to be locked inside specialized clubs and expensive publications and make it freely available to everyone, because the coins are out there, the discoveries are still being made, and the only thing standing between you and a potentially life-changing find is the knowledge of what to look for and the habit of actually looking, and both of those things are now within your reach. So here is your action plan starting tonight. Go through every penny you own that dates from 1987, 1988, or 1997, separate out any with a D mint mark, examine them under the best magnification you have available, note any that show unusual characteristics under that magnification or unusual weight on a scale, and if you find anything promising, do not spend it, do not clean it, do not lend it to anyone, and contact a professional grading service or a reputable numismatist for evaluation before you make any decisions, because the $49 million coin we talked about today is proof that this level of value exists in American pocket change, that it has been found before, and that with knowledge, patience, and attention, it can be found again by the right person at the right moment, and that person might be you. Subscribe to The Coin Merchant, hit that like button, share this video with everyone in your life who deserves to know this information, drop a comment below with the most interesting coin find you have ever made, and stay tuned because our next video is going to reveal another set of extraordinary coins hiding in plain sight that you absolutely cannot miss. The treasure hunt is just getting started, and we are so grateful you are here to be part of it.